Now here's the last part of her unhinged meltdown, where she seemingly goes through a midlife crisis moment, desperately trying to be accepted by the youth and show that she's hip with the kids, as she says what the Democrat Party needs is more youth and more socialism.
We should go younger. I think we should go further to the left. I think we should campaign for everybody. And Zoran Mamdani leaves no one behind. But AIPAC doesn't like him because he's Muslim, because that's a brand damaging problem for them. If there's a Muslim that comes out and speaks for everybody, they're going to have a hard time convincing Rube Americans that all Muslims are bad and we have to send all our taxpayer money to Israel, who, by the way, gets free health care subsidized by us, gets a lot of bombs subsidized by us. And if your kids in Israel want to go to a higher education, guess what? They don't have to go in debt because it's subsidized by us, by these politicians.
Now, her analysis on why people are critical of Zoran is so surface level, she doesn't even attempt to get to the actual answer. The reason people are so upset with a wave of Islamic extremism apparently being adopted and embraced by the Democrat Party is because what Islam believes is incompatible with Western values. It is antithetical to American philosophy. And if we can acknowledge that religious people put God above everything else, then the rational conclusion is that assimilating people into American society, whose highest belief system, their religion, is at complete odds with Western values, is bad for our country. And we shouldn't let people who have these kind of guiding principles dictate our government policy. In America, we believe women have agency. Women have the right to express themselves. Islam believes women are property, that they have an obligation to God to restrict themselves. How do you square those two things? And that's just one example. I get her frustration with AIPAC in Israel. I think everybody's having a little bit of Israel fatigue at the moment. But to embrace an ideology that calls for the destruction of Israel and the expulsion of its entire population from its land is anti-Semitic and genocidal. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a terrorist. Now, her doubling down that the Democrat Party needs to get younger, it needs to get more radically socialist, will inherently keep attracting the most bitter and angry and unproductive members of society. Socialism is an ideology for people who are too lazy and lack the intellectual capacity to be responsible and self-sufficient. They would rather trade their independence and their liberty for a life free of thinking, of choice, of having to make decisions, of having to take care of yourself, and instead opt for something where the government gives everything to you. The government tells you what to do, where instead of taking control of your own destiny, you go to the government every month with your handout for your food rations. It's an embarrassingly childish mindset, and it's predicated on stealing from others who are productive and hardworking because you're jealous that they have more than you. And that's why the Democrat establishment refuses to embrace Zoran, because the people they're controlled by don't want their taxes raised to pay for a whole bunch of lazy blue-haired socialists.